Each year I do my winter forecast based on the natural signs, whether it be woolly worms or squirrels' tails or hornets' nests high in the sky, corn husks, and so much more. All of those make the foundation of my winter forecast. I also look at some more esoteric indicators as well, like the phase of the moon and the long-range movement of the moon. You know, it really is fascinating how the moon might influence precipitation. I also take a look at some scientific information, not a lot, but some. I take a look at sea surface temperatures and the way the atmosphere is circulating around the Earth. And I also look at Wabash Valley winter weather history. What I found this year is that there's a big difference between what the signs are saying and what the science is saying. The signs say, look for a snowy, cold winter. The science, maybe not so much. So I decided to ask some people which they trust more, the signs or the science.
I like the signs.
Signs.
How about you?
Signs.
Well, science or not, I continue to believe that the science can give us a really good clue about what to expect for the coming winter. So my winter forecast this year is based a lot on the signs with just a little bit of science. So if you're looking for a winter that's going to be cold and snowy, you're probably not going to get it. That doesn't mean we're not going to have cold and snow, just won't be all that consistent. So here is my month-by-month forecast. This year's winter will be warmer than average, with below average precipitation, and that means below average snowfall. We'll have occasional cold snaps, but don't expect extended periods of cold. December temperatures will be above average and precipitation below average. The month starts chilly, but then turns mild. It can be breezy around the 9th, followed by rain. Flurries are possible around the 15th, but the best chance of accumulating snow will be near the 19th, then colder. And that means we could have a white Christmas. The month ends with flurries and breezy. January temperatures will be near average and precipitation also near average. New Year starts cloudy, but rather mild, then a chance of showers. Keep an eye on the second week of January when snow and wind will be possible, followed by the coldest air of the season around the 18th. The month ends sunny, mild, and breezy. February's temperatures will be above average with precipitation near average. The month starts mild and clear, meaning the groundhog could see his shadow. Then warmer, followed by wind, a chance of snow, and colder. Look for some snow flurries around the 16th, then breezy. Warmer air moves in around the 23rd, and we'll have to keep an eye on the last few days of the month for possible thunderstorms. To summarize, temperatures this winter will be above average. Average snowfall is about 18 inches and will be below that. The second half of January will deliver the best chance of snow and cold. And while we'll have occasional cold snaps, we probably won't have any days below zero. I do this forecast every year partly to honor my grandmother, who first taught me how to look at the signs to make a forecast, and also partly to just have some forecasting fun. I want to tell you, don't take this forecast too seriously, because whether it be science or signs, nobody really knows what's going to be happening this winter. And actually, that's kind of what makes weather so magical. For Storm Team 10.
Hey everybody, it is that time of the year once again for my winter outlook. A lot of hours going into looking at information, crunching numbers, trying to figure out years that I thought were similar. I'll have a lot of detailed information, including charts and what I call my analog years, all up on our website if you want to check that out. But we're going to go over some things now and talk about what I think is going to happen as we head into this winter season. Before we do that, though, I want to look back because we actually had what we would call a La Nina for the last 3 years, and that's only happened 3 times. 75, 76, we ended with what we call a triple dip La Nina. In 2000, 2001, and then, of course, last year. So you might say, well, that's interesting. What happened in those years afterwards? Well, when we look back at 76, 77, again, this was the winter coming out of 3 La Ninas in a row. Look at this. Extremely cold, drier than normal, and a little bit more snow than normal. But interesting, the only other time this happened was in 01, 02, when it was very warm and not much snow. So we really couldn't use that as an analog since it's happened only a couple times, and it was a big difference in what had happened in those 2 years. However, we are in now what's called an El Nino, and I wanted to show you, this is basically water temperatures that we look at off the coast of South America and extended westward. Normally what happens is we see a lot of this warmer water at the surface kind of pile up well off to the west. However, when this reverses, we see a change in this, and the waters kind of start to move back off to the east, and that's where we find the warmer than normal temperatures, and this is actually what we call El Nino. That's where we are now. We're in an El Nino. We haven't been there for a while, but that's what we're looking at right now. We had some strong El Ninos back in 1997, also in 2015. This one's pretty strong. I don't think quite as strong as those, but that's something that we factored into. And here's the pattern that we usually see with an El Nino winter. For us, unfortunately, drier than normal because we've been dry already, and more active down to the south. Again, that's a typical pattern during an El Nino winter. These are the sea surface temperatures right now, and you can clearly see this area right here. This is the El Nino that we're looking at, and again, it is very, very warm there. We have a lot of information. We look at all of this and try to come up with the winter outlook. And here we go. This is what I think is going to happen as we head through this winter season here in the valley. First of all, colder than last winter. Last winter actually was pretty mild, except for that period right around Christmas time. So I think colder than last winter. Next up, the first 2-inch or greater snowfall probably not falling until after we get to December the 12th or later than that. I don't think a white Christmas again this year. The last time we had a true white Christmas all across our viewing area was in 2010. So it's been a while. I don't think the pattern looks good for it again this year. More warm days than cold days. We'll have some cold snaps, but the warm will outweigh the cold. More rain events than snow events. Definitely, I think we're going to be looking at that. Next up, a lot of windy days, and I think this because the storm track will bring a lot of these clipper systems over this area, which brings lots of wind. So you'll notice a lot of windy days this coming winter. Large temperature swings again this year of at least 60 degrees or greater. By that I mean from the highest temperature to the lowest temperature over the winter, it'll be at least a 60-degree swing in the temperatures. I do believe at least one record or near record high temperature. A lot of my analog years did show some pretty warm days during the winter months. I think the warmest month compared to average will be December. I think the El Nino will weaken some after that, and we'll see some colder air, but I do think warmest compared to average will be the month of December. Because we will see some warm days and these clipper systems coming in. A lot of my analog years did have severe weather events, so I think we'll have at least a couple times when we're talking about some severe storms moving into the area. Unfortunately, because of the storm track also, an increased chance of ice, and it could be significant in this area. So I do think ice is going to be a problem, at least for 1 or 2 events as they move in. Overall, though, when you look back at the winter, I think it's going to be a mild winter with some cold shots. The cold shots may be very cold, but overall, lots of mild days it looks like. We're likely to see a temperature lock of above normal temperatures for several days. And by this, I mean we may go 7, 8, 9 days in a row with above normal temperatures. So we could have some long strings in there with some pretty mild weather. A few what I call high-impact storms, which have a big impact on our travel or our daily activities. I do think we're going to see a few of those high-impact storms again this winter. I think February looks like it'll probably have the most snow compared to all of the months. So again, probably weighted heavy towards the second half of the winter when we see more of our winter weather move in. I think the coldest part of the winter is going to be the second half of the winter. And also normal to below normal sub-zero days. Days we go below zero. I'm forecasting somewhere between 3 and 5 of those this winter. This is also interesting. I think the most active part of the winter will be the second half, and we could have some severe weather in there along with some snow. So again, the second half of the winter looks to be a lot more active. And another winter with a lot of clipper systems. I talked about those. Those are the ones that come in from the north, swing down across the area, and bring us a quick shot of some snow and some wind. I think a slow start to spring, unfortunately. As a matter of fact, I think there's still going to be some cool weather as we start March, and believe it or not, even some snow as we head into the month of March. So here's what we're looking at with the forecast. Above normal temperatures, but not by a lot, by a little over 1 degree above normal. I think precipitation, unfortunately, because we've been dry, is also going to be below normal. And I think when you look at snowfall for the area, we're going to be below normal, but not by a whole lot. I'm forecasting about 12.5 inches for the winter season here in the valley. That's a wrap on my winter outlook. Don't forget to go
Kevin's winter weather forecast. Let's get right into it. I look at a lot of things. For one, how about the Old Farmer's Almanac? They've got a great book there, puts out some really interesting forecasts like cold and snowy for the entire Midwest, or the Farmer's Almanac. There's another one there. They've got cold and stormy for us. They've got their own formula and way of doing things. But We also looked at things like NOAA. They put out a temperature outlook each year, and they say above normal for central Illinois, which is where that purple dot is located. In terms of precipitation, near normal to maybe getting close to that below normal, which is up across some of the Great Lakes. Also, El Nino, La Nina is a key thing that we use to determine just what the winter is going to be like. El Nino would mean that the sea temperatures right there at the equator are above normal, or the opposite, below under a La Nina pattern. Well, this year, that red, way above normal, several degrees above normal. So we actually would then put that into different categories of an El Nino. In this case, we're already up into the moderate, heading towards a strong El Nino pattern. And it is a slam dunk with the forecast. Those red bars there saying 100% chance that that is going to be the pattern that we are in. And that actually helps us forecast what the winter may be like. And we can go back and look at all the numbers. We crunch the numbers, you try to find a similar year that is going to be close to the conditions that we're experiencing right now. And we can look at those in strong and very strong El Ninos. We circle a few of them and we say, let's look at some of the data. And that data from very strong and strong El Ninos shows this in terms of snowfall. You can see, and that is running below average. But that's not the only thing I look at. Siberian snowpack. What's going up here in Russia, Siberia? That is actually something that I really use as a tool. Right now, they've got a below normal snowpack. There's not a lot of snow. There's not a lot of white on the ground. So why is that something? Think about this. When there is that snowpack and there's a lot of white there, the sun would be coming down and that radiation is getting reflected back up. It's called a high albedo, okay? And so when you've got a lot of snowpack, that means it's gonna be cold. But there's not a snowpack up in Siberia this year. So it's going to be maybe a little bit warmer for us, right? Not as much cold air bottled up to the north. Sunspot activity as well. We look at that and we are definitely on the rise in solar activity, which often means a warmer winter under higher activity. All right, let's look at the forecast. I'm going with above normal with the temperatures. I'm going with above normal in terms of rainfall. And when it comes to snowfall, well, it's going below normal too. On average, we should be at 23 inches of the white stuff. I don't think we're going to be close to it. We're giving only 13 to 17 inches for snowfall this year. And a white Christmas, that could be rough. I think only about a 15% chance of that. But it's not a 0% chance. We'll always wait and see. Let's go ahead and take a look at the recap. Key takeaways. Another warmer winter. Snowfall is going to be well below normal. A few cold blasts of air, so don't think we're going to completely escape winter. Watch out for those winter severe storms. The white Christmas chance, probably not too likely. And unfortunately, for the winter snow lovers, this may not be the winter.